What's up, everybody? How's it going? It's just me and my new best friend Joshua to my side. Daryl's not in here. Oh, I'm joking. He's here. He almost ran away. He almost got away from me talking about how the Packers beat the Saints this weekend. So.
Bye. You know what though? That was actually a good game. The Saints lost to the refs, and
Oh no
the Saints
no.
the Saints lost to the refs.
No, they did not. Okay,
Sometime.
those
It,
last was it the two pass interference calls and the offsides free play at the end?
dude, that was yeah.
Dude, that was
Early
all Saints. That was
in the first half though. The refs
okay. They got what was it? It was a horse collar. They gave them 15 yards, and then they got a field goal. We still won by more than 3.
You know what? At least we're not the Atlanta Falcons blowing double-digit leads 2 weeks in a row.
Well, I don't expect anything less from them. I mean, it's
they're
the
in
Falcons,
mid-season
so.
form.
Oh my God!
At least
Fly,
you're
get
not,
out of my drink.
at least nobody's Tampa Bay with all those high expectations pushing them downwards.
Didn't they lost to the Dolphins this weekend? Apparently.
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't keep up on all.
I thought I saw that in the bars going past when I was watching the game that they were like they didn't not a small loss either. It was not small.
I went
loss.
through so much launch anxiety, I forgot the NFL was playing, so I never watched a game.
Oh, by the way, yeah. So welcome to Rudd's episode 35, and I realized that I still have Harry Stranger as the name right here for you, Joshua. I apologize.
Oh, that's all good.
Hold on. I'm changing it
That was
live
my
on
code
air.
when I worked for the British Secret Service. Except they spelled it Hairy. That was.
Joshua, why don't you tell us about yourself? What do you do for a living?
So I am a photographer for the U.S. Air Force. My VIRN, if you ever want to look me up, is KD758. So that gets tagged to all the pictures that get posted online or wherever. I am on the contracting side for the 45th Space Wing. And so I get to run around and basically cover whatever the Air Force needs pictures for, whatever is required. So everything from launches to retirements and all that fun stuff. And been doing that for a year and a couple months now.
Practically all of our dream jobs, just to run around
Yeah.
around the Cape and just take photos of it, pretty much.
Unless you saw the depressing, like 5-hour montage of driving up to the Cape and driving back, and then driving back up to the Cape and then driving back and then driving back.
Hey, that's what I did
With
this
no
weekend.
pictures.
Yeah, that's what I did. 2.5 hours
put-
up and then 2.5 hours back down.
350 miles for Delta so far in my car.
Oh man.
Yeah.
See, I get rentals. I've just now referred to it as my ship box. I don't even call it as my car anymore. Yeah, it doesn't make it to the Cape anymore. Last time I attempted, the engine just said no. It gave up on
I
life.
was driving that all last year, and then I had a good friend give me a really sweet deal on a decent car, so at least I'm not paying a lot into it every month. But it's a when you have to do $90 oil changes and it's premium gas, you still smile through the pain.
Yeah, it's still not great, and rentals are not cheap either. It's like I could be getting like a Tesla, and like paying it off pretty much if I. Yeah, but don't. It's still not cheap. So
Hey, the plan was for me to have one by now too, and
yeah, we all plan on having Teslas by now too. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Cybertruck was supposed to be my driveway.
Where is it? Is it supposed to be out by now?
It's still in Texas.
When was the actual launch date for the Cybertruck?
It was a couple months ago when they announced it, right? And they broke the window by accident.
Was it a couple months ago? I thought it was
Yeah, dude,
time of last year.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, time is a warp now. I've lost track of everything.
Okay, we gotta look this up now. Hold up.
Uh-oh.
Because people ask me about certain launches, and I've been to pretty much every launch this year except for DM1.
Yeah, it was November of last year.
On the Cape. Okay.
November of
yeah,
last
so
year.
I literally have to have people tell me what the launch looked like for me to remember what happened. This year's been a blur.
Damn.
Let's see. All right, Tesla, what are you going to tell me for release date? When is it coming out?
Just in case, letting everybody out there know to save a life. Today's Tuesday.
Yes.
By the way, it's Tuesday. Yes, it is not Monday, which we're usually live on. We had a really epic idea for Monday night before the launch, and then that just kind of all fell apart.
What was our epic idea?
It was going to be me and Josh live from Sands Space Center.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't get inside of Sands. And then we're going to do it outside of Sands. And then it started raining, so we're going to do it like in our cars or at a restaurant. And then it's like, or we could just push it back a day and it'll be fine.
And it was going to be me right here.
Oh yeah, right? Daryl was going to be home. He's going to be the one with OBS. And I'm like,
oh, that's why you didn't trust me.
I don't know about that. I have faith one day.
I don't trust Packers fans.
I have NDA on the DMs in my Twitter. That's all I'm going to say, Daryl.
So how long have you been doing photography? How about we start with that?
Yeah, so I'm going to redact my actual age because I hate putting it out online, but I'm in my 30s, and I started when I was 14. And I bought my first actual full like SLR, and I say SLR because this was years ago, so this is before digital was even cool. Got a Nikon FM10 with my own money. I was working full time at a library at 16 because I got to get homeschooled. So naturally, homeschoolers just go work full time and earn money and spend it all on cameras. So that's what I did. I bought a film camera, started shooting air shows, and got into photography because I walked through a C-141 Starlifter, which was the precursor to like the C-17. And when you're 10-year-old, you walk through that, it kind of blows your mind. You're like, wow, I need to know all about all of this. So when I got little disposables, finally broke into film, and then after that got into digital back in 2003. Started getting digital stuff, and then I got a supposed to be a hardcore digital rebel. So I started out at Canon, and then I progressed into Nikon because that's the natural progression. So I did that. Okay. So yeah, and I did a bunch of events, did solo weddings. I second shot for a couple for 2.5 years and did probably about 25 weddings with them. And this is all back in the early 2000s, and kept shooting for myself. So I shot tons of portraits, tons of all that stuff. And then kept moving up, kept doing stuff. 5 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, I started working for Southern Photo after doing a whole bunch of other stuff in the middle of that, like getting married and having kids and all this stuff. And finally got back into full-time photography by working for Southern Photo and got into the sales lead position. So this is the local camera store where we are in the Space Coast. So it's the one major like camera store on the Space Coast that after about 3.5 years had to close, and it's a long story there, but I got my hands on pretty much every single bit of Nikon gear, Canon gear, talked to all the reps, got to go to industry events, and really got into the camera industry. And that sucked me into this black hole that I've never been able to pull myself out of.
Are you complaining about that black hole, though?
No, it's a good black hole. It's a good one.
I would agree.
It's a delicious black hole. But it's so that sucked me in, and made a lot of good connections, got to use a lot of stuff, like helped I earned my wings with the D750, and I've put over 1 million clicks through about 750 bodies.
Oh man,
that's my primary camera now. Sold a bunch of them. I sold probably about 10 to 15 a month, just 750s. But so I got into Nikon, and the reason why I started using Nikon myself 100% is because of their support and because of the F-mount system. Because I was taking people's throwaway lenses that were actually pretty good. And I'm like, oh wait, I can put this on a 7100. I can put this on a whatever. So having all these lenses, I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna go Nikon because I've got all this stuff I can use now. So I've used pretty much every Nikon camera besides the Z5, which I haven't had to touch yet, and the Z7 I haven't touched yet, but everything else, including the D5 and stuff, I've gotten to use in real world scenarios, which is really cool. So
okay.
I'm kind of the Nikon aficionado at this point.
I forgive you for that. It's okay.
It's like, yeah, no, I'm still a Canon boy. Like I will do 100% Canon video all the time because Canon video is awesome.
Yeah, I don't really like. I really don't know the difference between like Nikon and Canon. I just like making fun of it. Like,
Yeah.
like oh Nikon. Oh, like oh I just can't wait one day when I have the money I can just throw away Nikons at Atlas launches. Just throw it right in the flame pit. No protection. Just throw it right there.
Right, just eat this, and hopefully, if I get an SD card out, we're good.
As long as the SD card survives, is all I care about. I don't care about
See,
lens or body. Just SD card. That's all I need to survive.
I like to think I've evolved to the point beyond where Seth is at now, to where I can appreciate Nikon shooters because, like he said, there's no difference between Canon and Nikon, but it's the people who come out with like a Pentax or a Konica camera or something like that. Like,
Oh my god.
what?
There's
Now,
yeah.
What's funny for me is the way people have perspectives on cameras. As a guy who had to sell them,
Mhm.
I sold a heck of a lot more crop frame Nikons just because of what you get out of them. So you get 11 point, for $400 camera, you're getting 1080 24 video with a microphone and headphone jack. SD card that'll handle up to 120 gig SD card with 11 point autofocus and a 24 megapixel sensor for $400 with the lens. I mean, you can't not try to show people that when they come and going, hey, I want to vlog. And then the closest in price that at that point, a couple years ago, Canon had was the SL1 or the SL2. Neither of those had a microphone input.
Yeah.
So I'd have people coming and going, I'm not getting any audio, and they trying to put it in the trigger input. So from an intro standpoint, Nikons were great. But there's a bunch of good cameras now. What a lot of people don't know though, when you mention Pentax have some of the best, besides Fuji, the best weather sealed cameras out there.
I have heard that their weather sealing is really great, but it's so hard to take.
It's
So hard. It's so hard. It's just like oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, no,
look
Pentax-
look at your cute little camera. You're such a hipster.
in 3 years, I met 5 hardcore full-time Pentax people coming into the store.
Jeez.
By far, though, Nikon sold 3-to-1 ratio to Canon in Space Coast.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
My dad's a hardcore Nikon guy, but that's I think it's only because from work he just only camera he knows how to use is a Nikon. I don't think like through Coast Guard and as a federal agent he had to take a bunch of photos of like investigative stuff. He only did Nikon.
Well, the military,
I'm sure
military
we can find
primarily
our way
uses
around
Nikon.
Nikon.
So
Yeah, so those most government is all Nikon. So
Yeah.
it's like he only knows Nikon. He goes like, I love my Nikon. I'm like, how would you switch that to M? He's like, no, auto, full auto.
oh my god, you like any camera in auto? I mean, come on.
Yeah, he will go to the auto. He's like, it's like, I could do landscape mode and like portrait mode. And I'm like, there we go. You're,
P does not stand for portrait.
Don't tell him that. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know
So,
that part.
So, Josh, in all your years working in the camera industry, I've heard this a couple of times. I want to see if you've heard it because you're obviously in it way more than I am. That generally, I mean, obviously with you and Seth, it's an exception to this, but generally, people will pick a camera brand, especially when it comes to Canon and Nikon, been around for forever, because it's what their dad shot with. You ever heard that before?
I've had a lot of that. It would be, you joke about it and you see a lot, but my experience has been people come in with a film Nikon and go, hey, does this lens work on a new camera? I actually have a Nikon F that I got from a gentleman that he was going to throw away the camera. I said, no, this is a good camera. And you could tell it was like beat up and had a story. He was a Baltimore photojournalist.
Mhm.
And he wanted to make his old Nikon lenses work on a new camera. So the closest equivalent at that point was like a D7100, and it was right in his price range at like $750. So he literally just was going to go to Nikon because he didn't want to switch lenses.
Right.
And the hard part with Canon is Canon's done about 3 mount changes since, the 1940s, when Nikon has never changed their mount.
Yeah, that is the one thing I can give Nikon. Like the F mount
Yeah.
is crazy good. It literally it works on everything.
I've put what they call the non-AI lenses. Those are the lenses that have no autofocus, and they're all manual focus with the manual clicking aperture. There's no input to them at all. They're the non-AI lenses, and those ones I've put. I've shot full air shows with them, and some of my favorite shots were shot with a full autofocus 70-210 f4, and it's crazy because I can focus faster with that lens because it's a slide, and it's just you lock it. And the cool part is old film lenses, you lock to infinity and they shoot sharp. It's not like you go to infinity and back up on a digital lens.
Yeah.
When you go to these old ones, when you hear it smack at the end of infinity and you hear it just bump there, you just leave it and you're sharp.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
infinity is infinity on these old lenses, and that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
These
I
days,
can't walk
these
away.
new lenses, it's like focus to infinity, but then you kind of like, yeah, focus to infinity.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your thing, I did run into that a lot. There was a lot of, I shot with this, I picked up a digital Canon when I first went digital just because I'd spent years with XL1s, so I knew the Canon digital video system. So I'm like, why not just get a Canon camera if all my other digital video stuff's going to work, which I did digital video way before stills. If all my digital video is going to work, then why not just get, digital Canon? And you see a lot of that. And nowadays when you hear the phrase, a lot of people say something like, you never can get a bad camera. You really can't.
Yeah.
Like, you can go out, get one of these new mirrorless, like you go Sony, Fuji has some fantastic
Daryl's
cameras
very
now.
proud of his R.
I love my R.
Dude,
I-
the new
I have-
A7C.
I've heard the A7C is actually really, it's like
Yeah.
pretty
I'm mad though. I will never get that camera, and you could never have me use it just because there's no pro controls on it. It's like having a point shoot camera with a. Full
That's
frame.
how I feel about the R.
Ew.
That's how I feel about the R.
Okay,
It-
yeah,
No.
yeah.
It's
No.
like no, the R is not set up for like legit.
You
shooting.
can't give me that many autofocus points and expect me to use a D-pad. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, exactly. Like, where's the joystick? Where's like the aperture ring? Like,
It's not even. It's a 4-point D-pad. It's not even a circular one like you get on Nikon or Canon. Like
Yeah, no, it's just
one of the-
It's like my T6.
yeah, one of the greatest
Yeah.
breakouts that happened to cameras was when they put the thumbstick on some of the new cameras, like the D500, and then you
Yeah.
went to a lot of the new mirrorless and all that have the thumbstick on the back, and that's just a miracle. Because
They have the little touchscreen thing. I can't use that.
Yeah.
The ISO button is where the ISO would usually be on a DSLR is the record button.
Now for
So-
Daryl though, I will give you this: the new A7R2, the 12 megapixel one that just came out.
The Sony one?
Yeah, the Sony.
Yeah.
There's that one that came out. I'm excited about that because nobody's doing 12 megapixels anymore, and I'm gonna get destroyed for this. But 12 megapixels is like the holy grail of photography because you get giant pixels.
Mm-hmm.
What really got me into Nikon was the D700 for a camera that, and this is a camera that they've proven there's original shutters that are still out there shooting over 300,000 clicks. It's the Toyota Hilux pickup of cameras. And it doesn't do video, it has a single compact flash card slot, but it'll hold a 64 gig card for a camera that came out 2012 or 2010, I think.
Jeez.
It's 12 megapixels, but it has 39 autofocus points, and all of them are, well, most of them, 22 of them are cross type, and it shoots at I've gotten it up to 8 frames a second shooting.
How many?
8 frames a second.
Oh.
Now you don't want to do low
Did
light
you
with it
hear
because it's
80?
not
Right.
great past.
Yeah.
It's not great in low light just because of the way how the edge of the sensor. But the new Sony with the 12 megapixel, that thing's gonna be killer in low light because of how they designed it. And you have these giant pixels that just eat up light, and then you don't have a huge file. And for video, it's huge because I've been looking at all the examples of the video one, and the video's stellar with it because you're working with these giant, huge light receptors instead of tiny little ones all packed in. And it breathes better. There's a little more depth of field to it. It's a cool look. Like I just love 12 megapixels. It's just call me crazy, but there's something special to sensors like that.
I could call you crazy, but you know what you're doing too. So I'm not.
I'm also out there, and I'm an old school guy too. So like I'm the guy who, my favorite picture of my wife was shot with a D40, which is was the Canon Rebel Digital XT or whatever, same
Right.
equivalent. So 6 megapixel. I have 2 D100s that I love. Those are the original crop frame 6 megapixel Nikons. And then I have a D1 from Nikon too. And the reason why I keep the D1 around is I can plug it in because the battery doesn't work anymore. You can't find them with batteries anymore. It does 16,000th of a second shutter. Right?
What?
Right, for a $10 camera. I've done it before. You light it up bright enough. You can get water droplet. You can freeze water droplets and stuff with it.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So it's the only
Nuts.
camera in my entire.
That is
But I
perfect
can
for you.
put like my 85, my brand new Tamron 85 on it. Like, you know, I can put a brand new lens on the camera
Daryl,
and
that is
shoot with it and
perfect for
get
you.
16,000 of the
Photos.
second and plug it in and shoot all day with it.
Yeah, that's and you go back to talking about things you could put this lens on this thing, and you talked about Canon, changing their mount types. I have been thinking about pulling out my dad's old camera that he bought in Vietnam, got a bunch of great pictures of. I need to scan those and restore them and whatnot, but I've also been thinking about experimenting with it, but I got to use the original lens they came with and only got one.
What kind of camera? If you can remember.
I want to say it's the AE1.
Okay.
Which was the popular one back then, but I don't think it is because they actually stamped AE1 in the front of it. So
Right.
it doesn't have that stamp.
Is it more of the plastic green body?
No, it's
Okay.
it's the black and silver one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's still lenses, like there's still some good stuff out there cheap on like eBay. So you can get a telephoto and do whatever you want with it. But have fun with it. I mean, film's still around. There's tons of people that are scanning it right now.
Yeah.
Film has hit a insane resurgence. And it's kind of exciting.
I got
And
really excited when my
that's
dad
one thing
sent
I
me
need to
this.
do is find film for it. I learned how to do a little bit of film back like in Boy Scouts and whatnot, but we screwed up the development.
104. This was
Oh,
his
dude,
camera
yes.
back when he first enlisted in the Coast Guard, and he's like, "You want it?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" It's like film.
Why not?
And yeah, does it come with the cartridge?
Exactly.
And I can't find them. I have no idea where to find them. Like I've
It's
scoured
tough.
eBay.
You'll find those cameras everywhere, but it's tough to find anything for it.
I can find complete sets. If I want to buy a whole new camera with it,
Right.
I can. But then I also can't find film for it. And
Yeah.
or whatever, and I think it's broken. Like this little handle is supposed to go back here, and it's not. And I'm like, well, it's a really good background
Prop.
piece. Yep, it's a really cool looking prop. So
I have my wife's grandfather's Pentax Spotmatic that is in blisteringly beautiful condition still, that he bought in Korea during the Korean War. So at the tail end of the Korean War, so it's got history to it, and I put 2 rolls of film through it, including 3200 speed T-Max through it, and had a 51.4 on it. So I got some pretty cool low light shots with that. Grainy as heck, but 3200 speed film.
yeah, I'll so love to get into film. It'd be just so much fun. I feel
And
like
one thing I will say about film is, like, you don't get into it for like the niche cutesy Instagram factor. The one thing that film can teach you, and the reason why I'm comfortable with any scenario now, is because of film. Because when I was a kid, I went through, and film teaches you a lot because you have to put something back into it. So, I was working full time at a library, and my entire paycheck was going to buying my T-Max and my Portra and all these different rolls of film. And then I bring it back to the camera store, and they would develop it. We'd talk about, I'd spend 2 hours with the owner, and he'd say, hey, this is what you did wrong. This is what you did right. He'd sell me some other cool new piece of gear. I'd buy a lens. A friend of mine's still using the bag I bought when I was like 17, like a Tamarack bag. And he stapled the straps back together, and he's still using it as a backup bag now. It's crazy. But yeah, so it was one of those things where you learn a lot from it. Like when you have to put 10 to 20 bucks back into a roll, you think more. It makes you, like, there's no lie to it. When you go to take film, you like, especially manual focus, you got to go in there. You have to lock your focus. You think about your shot. You have 24 shots. I take 24 shots just testing focus for a Starlink launch now.
Yep.
Like that's like a no-brainer.
Let's not talk about focus.
I'm a second
is
shooter
so
wedding,
cool.
and I fill 3 32 gig cards as a second shooter. Like, I mean, come on. It's like...
I go to church stuff. All I need to do is take like 6 or 8 photos. All I need are 6 or 8 photos, and I come back with like over 130, like in an hour. Yeah.
Wait, for DM1 earlier this year, I didn't even stick around for the actual launch. I was only around for the scrub day.
Oh yeah.
I took 2,600 pictures of a rocket that did not launch.
Why not, right?
I don't want to know how much you spend on cloud storage, or how long you take to edit those and delete the duplicates.
Actually, I kept a bunch of them because I did stitches of them.
Okay.
And they came out pretty good. I got to tweak them, and I want to stop using Lightroom for stitches, but I haven't found a better program yet. Like, I haven't figured one out. but I do want a print of it because just the single shots. I mean, you can see the pad, you can see the horizon, you can even see like the green water. The water was like bluish green that day. I'd never seen water that color before because we got
when the light hits that water just right.
Oh yeah, it was really pretty. I mean, I got it from the side. We went up to the north of 39A, so you're looking back straight down.
Is that Playa Linda or?
It was kind of close to Playa Linda. It was from
Okay,
the boat.
so you're in the refuge then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was from a boat, and we were looking, just straight back. And again, on that one, you could see the water, you could see the beach line, you could see just everything to it. I think I might get both of them printed, but no,
Cool.
I need to find a better way to stitch them together.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of stitching.
I have not either.
It's
not my thing.
Good. It's good when your subject is far away because I've done a booster import before. I did 39A for DM1. I've also done Atlantis and Discovery, but you're really close to them, and it messes with the perspective, especially when you got to keep moving around, adjust your focus, move around, adjust your focus, and just keep doing that. You get this really bulbous effect.
Well, I know too because you're stuck with a wider focal length too. Like longer,
Right.
You can kind of compress your image, but when you're that close, you still have to try to.
Right. The goal with that one was to pick up like minute detail. Like tiny little chip marks in a tile or something like that. That was the point of that. Now for Atlantis, I was able to get further back. I've actually done that one twice. Discovery in DC, I've only had the opportunity to do that once. Those came out pretty good. I was really careful with those because I knew, hey, it might be a while before I get back here, so let me take my time with these. And the Discovery ones came out good on the first try. Atlantis, I just need to find a better spot in that place, and I wish they.
Did you try shooting from up underneath at all, or?
That's actually the tougher one too.
I was just thinking the platform. If you can stay level to the bottom, you might be able to get.
Yeah. Also, you gotta do it like shooting around people as well. Like,
oh yeah, no, there's people everywhere there.
Yeah.
Atlantis from the bottom doesn't have the people problem, but if you get right underneath it and you try to stay, I guess, I don't know, because it sits at an angle, but you try and stay under what would be the center of it, then it definitely warps because
That's
it's so
true,
big. Yeah. You're moving around and it really messes with the picture. I need to figure out a better way to do that one because it's worth doing, especially nowadays when people can't get out. I mean, it's seeing just random pictures of it online is nothing like seeing it in person. So
right.
You bring more detail to it and give more of a feel of being there. I think it's worth it.
So yeah, if you can get the detail, there's actually a really cool thing not a lot of people know about the tiles. If you can see up underneath, is that if you look really close in the space in between, a lot of the tiles are still spaced out with Rockwell punch cards. So
I have to go look now. I did not know that.
Now, Atlantis is poorly lit underneath. But
it is.
Discovery is lit really good.
Really good underneath, yeah.
But it's sitting right on the ground.
It's on the ground.
Underneath.
So so I had a friend who used to install tiles, and some of the tiles on the last shuttle that flew are still original tiles to the body. Yep. They would go through and they would pick out the ones that needed to get replaced and replace them. Yeah. And so he actually, when he replaced them, they would pull out literally just paper punch cards that they used as gap filler. And so he has a burned out one. He probably still has. It's been years since I saw it. But he's laminated it, and you can still see Rockwell in it. And yeah.
Well, I don't even think they would even survive. But
it's I mean, it's.
I thought they were all get burned up, but
yeah. I got to go. I got to go on a family day under Endeavor. In High Bay, which was the coolest experience. This is actually back when I was still fresh with digital. So I walked in and I was like, "Hey, I need a wide lens." So I just grabbed my kit lens rather than grabbing my better lenses. So I was shooting. I had no clothes walking to High Bay, so I was shooting, 18 to 55 kit on a crop frame Rebel. So the pictures are a little grainy. I still have them somewhere. But yeah, it was really cool to be able to get up close and see that. And
yeah, I still want to go there. I want to go see all the shuttles. I've only seen one, so I've only seen Atlantis. So
the way they did that exhibit at Kennedy Space Center is really
amazing.
Cool, though.
Yeah, amazing, absolutely. I cry every time, like a baby.
Yeah,
every time.
You don't go through the intro every time, but every time you do go through, it gets you.
Every single time.
Every
It's like
single
you don't expect it either. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
like oh yeah,
you know what's gonna
'cause
happen.
It's very, I don't want to. It's very cheesy NASA, or very not
Yes.
cheesy. It's very cheesy, and all, but all of a sudden like, and then it just like appears. You're like, oh, the emotions.
Right,
All
your
of
little
them
kid
at
comes
once.
in. Like
Yeah.
ever since I was a kid, I was like a teenager, and as I was obsessed with aviation photography, of course, rockets come in. I lived up in New Hampshire though, so all my experience was through books and stuff. So I was
Yeah,
reading
same.
books, I was watching the PBS Nova stuff,
Yup.
all the Nova films and stuff. I'm
Oh,
sure
I
they're on
forgot about
YouTube
those.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And that was when I learned about Morton Thykol with the Challenger, and I learned so much back then as a kid. I read Jim Lovell's autobiography. I read, all these other guys, Pete Conrad. I got to meet. I'm so good with names. Failure is not an option. Gene
Gene
Kranz.
Gene Kranz.
Yeah.
I got to meet him in person because he came up to Daniel Webster College in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Nice.
So I got to meet him, shake his hand. That was really cool. So I jumped for every single opportunity out there that I could to meet people and learn stuff. So, what I do now is just a natural extension of being a kid.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
And
Oh man.
for me, it was growing up watching shuttle launches on TV from here.
Mm.
Before I knew any better, I'd ask my dad, "Dad, is that why they make the shuttle? Is that why they make the shuttle? Because we got the Mishu assembly facility out here." And he's
That's
like,
true,
"Oh,
yeah.
They just make the tanks. They just make the tanks."
And
But now,
That was the biggest thing on the pad, though. That was big man on campus. That's
oh, yeah, like and people easily forget about Mishu, which is not its own standalone facility, believe it or not. It's an extension
Really?
of Marshall in Alabama.
okay.
So
I did
people
not know that.
People easily dismiss it because it falls under Marshall, but if you think about it, the largest, most iconic pieces have been built here. I mean, the shuttle, yeah, everybody knows what the shuttle is, but the most recognizable piece, that giant orange tank, the giant orange SLS, the first stage of the Saturn V, built here in New Orleans.
Yeah.
People
And,
forget
and
about
honestly, without that first stage and without that tank, like if you put the shuttle up on the pad by itself, cool space plane, bro. But when you have a huge tank and those smoky SRBs, that's just like magic.
that. Those,
As a kid, I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is just the coolest thing.
and I can watch launches all day. In fact, I spent a few hours last night backtracking through launches. I found somebody on YouTube who apparently recorded like every launch as they aired on TV, like way up, like past Miko and everything like that, because I was
Wow.
looking for one specific Capcom call to add to a video for Space Export.
Man,
It's
that's
one-
deeper than my geek, dude.
It's one particular one. You hear it every time at the Atlantis exhibit. It's the one where they say Ohm's one is not required.
Okay, yeah, I
And it
saw
was-
you mention it. Yeah.
Yeah, could not find it. I don't know how far back to go. I don't even know if it's Atlantis. So I got to go back
Really?
to every launch. Yeah,
Huh.
because
Have you tried to contact anybody at like Delaware North or anything, or anybody at the visitor center and see if they know? Or
well, for one thing, I didn't know I could reach out to Delaware North. I wouldn't know who to reach out to either.
I don't know either. I'm just like,
Yeah.
start calling people and go, hey, by the way, people are like, what is this guy asking?
I bet there's
Yeah, like who? I need to figure out who designed the Atlantis exhibit, who researched it, picked out stuff, and be like, hey, where was this exact Capcom call from? What mission?
There's a guy looking for a video game. His name is Sauce.
No,
That's an old school reference. If anybody knows what Capcom was.
I know.
I
definitely know.
was
Gen Xers have left the conversation.
Bye, son.
I was sitting there and I was like you were talking about Michigan and like how all built in New Orleans, and I'm like, we have Oshkosh Corporation,
Yeah.
Humvee, yeah, like the big trucks, yeah, but that's all we got in Wisconsin, and corn and beer.
is it-
You,
little bit
no,
history
you have
before you-
one of the greatest air shows of the entire world.
We do. Yes, that's very
Yeah.
true. And I took that so like I didn't even recognize it until like maybe 2 years ago when I started working on the company I did now, because they always talk like, oh yeah, we love going to the Oshkosh Air Show, and I'm like, oh, you mean that few days in the middle of summer where like all the planes fly overhead and like it's kind of loud and kind of like when the blue planes do like just fly over my house the entire time. Yeah, like the Blue Angels would practice over my house. Like,
That's
Oh.
awesome.
yeah, and I just like
Oh.
it, and like I loved it. Like I would go watch it, but like yeah, I took it for advantage like every single time.
I grew up 12 miles from an airport, so I'd go and watch all the 172s do touch and goes. Like I had a bike and not a car yet, so I would
Yeah.
bike out there and
We so the house I grew up in is on the well, it depends on how the winds are, but takeoff and landing is right over our house. And
Wow.
so we have an air refueling wing at our airport.
yeah.
And they so they had issues. I think they got deployed.
You
And
had the KC-10s, right?
yes, the KC yeah.
The-
KC
the-
10. So
the
the KC
triple
130.
holders.
KC 130s. I think that's what they are.
135s.
One-
135s.
yeah, 135s.
Yeah, with the 4 engines.
Yeah, the big ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the big
and
guys,
they
yeah.
I think they got deployed and they had issues. And with their planes, like they weren't maintained well, I guess. And so when they came back from deployment, like 6 or 8 months later, they had to start doing touch and goes, like just like they literally would go up, like do some like whatever, and land, and then like 5 minutes later take back off. And so they were just like all day long, like they were like
That's crazy.
they almost like yeah, like, and of course you got to bump civilian, like they just did it all day long, and it's crazy. But like
And that's
So
noisy.
speaking of,
Dude, those are noisy planes too. Those are not
yeah,
quiet
but
planes.
good thing about that they go right.
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
they take off real steep. So, but like Fat Albert came in a few times.
Oh,
We had like
yeah,
a
yeah.
B2 once. Like,
They just finally took Fat Albert from an original C-130 model to a J model now. So now they have a brand new Fat Albert.
Yep, Fat
It's
Albert's
still-
back.
it's,
Are they still doing a JATO takeoff with it? Or did they
Not
stop?
the J's don't have JATO mounts to my knowledge.
Ooh,
that's
a
those
shame.
are the rockets, right? Were they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
right.
true story. As a kid, I was a 13 or 15-year-old, and I grew up in New England. So I was at Westover Air Force Base, and somebody on this thing will probably go, "Hey, I know where that is." It's in Springfield,
have
right
that big
above
of an
right
audience.
above Connecticut. It was 100 miles from home, and my dad drove me down there and back in one day for an air show just to keep his geek son happy. But we went down there, and I'm at a 130. I found the crew chief. I'm like, "Hey, can you show me where the JATOs go?" And he had to ask 5 other people. And finally, we found the pilot, and the pilot's saying, "Oh yeah, they're back here." And they popped them open for me, gave me patches
sick.
and stickers and stuff. And, you know, when you're a kid, like you still
That's
think
so
about those
cool.
experiences now. So
Mhm.
like I try to do when I run into people and they're staring at the port or something, I try to do that same kind of thing where if they know something, like, "Hey, that's where that's at," and you try to educate people because it keeps that spark alive. Like I still think about that moment where I got to see something that I'd read about that nobody knew about, and I'm like, dude, like you feel cool,
I grew up just almost it was almost dangerous how much I loved Air Force One. Like I know way
So
too.
have you been to the Air Force Museum?
So
In the
no,
Midwest.
where they have like the full model, right?
They have the full 707 there that swore in
I-
Johnson.
Yeah, I have not I've not been there. I want to
You
go.
need
still.
to go. You need
I went
to go.
to I can't remember what
I got 5 seconds with it because I spent the entire day on the World War II wing.
the
So-
Gerald R. Ford Museum, the Gerald R. Ford Library.
Ooh, yeah,
has a
yeah.
model of
That's
it.
the other one, yeah.
And when we were there, they had it out. It was like on tour somewhere. The time we went, and that was like the only reason why I was super psyched to go to the. Because I had no clue who Gerald Ford was growing up. Like, no,
Right?
who knows who Gerald Ford was? Like, and so I'm like, I was super psyched, and then like they didn't have
Peanuts
it.
and policy.
Yeah,
No, just-
and no, but Obama came in. I don't remember why, but he came into Milwaukee, and my dad working with counterfeiting stuff for customs knows a lot of people with the Secret Service.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And so-
that's hand in hand.
They go for because whenever it's money stuff, it always goes to the Secret Service. But if it's not money stuff, they also send it to him. And but like he knew like some people on like who in the local like field office, and so we got in to see it land. And there's a reporter right next to me. Like he has like a little sheet. He's reading off facts, and he got one thing wrong, and I go, "Excuse me, there's a actually yes, the president can have medical operations in the hospital they have on board." And he goes like, oh, and also the bedroom's on the far side of the plane when it parks, not on the front, on the near side.
Wow.
But
You're
is
in
there a
that guy.
parachute pack from the back where he can hang onto a tube hanging from another plane? That's what I want to know.
Did you-
Escape pod.
Yes, they can refuel in air. Yes, they can. Very much so. But yeah, no, I got to be like maybe like 100 feet away for the Air Force One.
That's so cool.
And I got to shake President Obama's hand, which that's
Hey.
also pretty cool. So.
So
No matter what president, that's just awesome. I don't.
Oh,
care.
Oh yeah, so awesome. But yeah, I was fat. It was like I just sat there. I was like in front of me.
Right?
And all of
Yeah.
a sudden-
Who cares
and then
about the president? Here's Air
he's
Force
literally
One.
walking
Like,
towards me, and I'm just like, and all of a sudden like, and then I look over because like we were told by like 20 different agents that like he's not going to come over to the crowd. Like he's going to like get right into his limo and he's gonna leave. Oh, literally, the agent had the door open for the limo. He just walks right past them. Like, there's no way you can stop a politician when he sees the
See,
crowd.
I would have been more impressed if you got to shake Pete Souza's hand.
No, I did not.
Oh.
That would have been. But no, he goes like, and he goes. I was also my dad took me out of school for it, and that's what he asked. He goes like, "Aren't you supposed to be in school, kid?" And I'm like, yeah, my dad took me out so I can see the plane. And
It's crazy.
which when I'm thinking about it, I probably should have said my dad took me out to see you, but no, I want. That probably was the
I
right
just
answer.
wanted to see your car.
I just wanted to see the plane. And he goes, good kid. I like the education system here. Awesome. And they kept. Yeah, and then he went down the line, and then he like left, and I'm just like, I just want to see the plane. Like, can I get in the plane? And like, no, you can't get in the plane. I'm like, dang it, I want to get in the plane.
So speaking of air shows,
Yeah.
coincidentally, there's one actually
Stewart?
coming up that has not been canceled due to COVID.
You mean
gonna be-
two coming up?
Oh wait, y'all have two?
We have
We have two
Stewart,
coming up.
and then
Stewart.
Is there one in
Oh,
Orlando,
which-
near Orlando as well, or no?
Yeah, the Sanford International. It used to be Melbourne, which used to be Coco. So Coco turned into Melbourne, turned into Sanford. It's the same coordinator.
Yeah,
And that's the one that's going to be on Halloween weekend,
Yes.
which is at the same time as Crew
As-
1.
Crew One.
So,
Which,
Called Light
with
Up the
how-
Space Coast 2020.
and
Yeah.
and with how Delta's going, might be the same weekend as Delta. So,
I was joking. I'm like, by the time we actually photograph this launch, it's going to be sunrise.
it's
wow.
going backwards.
Yeah, we keep advancing 5 minutes back, so eventually we're going to make it to 8:50 in the morning, and then we're good. Like,
Yeah. Eventually we might get we might get some cool.
we might hit
lighting.
the time zone change, or the time change,
Yeah,
and then
eventually it might. Yeah, eventually we might get. I'm thinking about tomorrow because I think I might make it up for the launch tomorrow. I think I might convince Zach Hall to come down and pick me up and drive me back up. But it's only a 5-hour drive for him. It's fine. 2.5 for him. I'll drive the 2.5 up. It'll be fine. I'm
you
a
guys
good
lunch
guy.
by McDonald's, right? I mean,
Yeah, spicy nuggets. Yeah.
yes, spicy nuggets and whatever they're serving.
Yeah.
Who said nuggets? Who said
Spicy
nuggets?
nuggets. Spicy nuggets. But
Did you say space
Really?
nuggets?
I think we need to
Really
bring
wanna get
those like candles you can get.
Szechuan sauce.
I think we need to bring like the candles you can get at Publix, have like Jesus' face on them and stuff like that, and just light them and just let
I
'em
think
just sit
at this
there.
point we're gonna need the ones that you burn at both ends.
Yes.
We just
And
need to
so-
bring a priest out and just bless the
I'm
rocket at this
drinking
point.
caffeinated water because I poured my beer out for Delta today.
They
so
have
that was-
caffeinated water.
Dude, this is the best stuff ever. This is at Target. It's called Aha, and
It
I
has
like
caffeine
the
in it.
30 milligrams of caffeine in sparkling water. It's fantastic. So it's my breakfast drink now.
Caffeine? What?
Caffeine.
Yeah, when you have a caffeine addiction, but you don't want to look like you have a caffeine addiction.
When you don't, yeah, when you don't need the sugar, but you need the kick.
Who's that caffeine?
Hilarious. I didn't know they made caffeinated water. The 21st century is wild.
I think we lost Daryl.
Oh no, trust me. When we lose Daryl, it's usually when we have a dog or something like that. So.
Don't say that.
Oh, do you not
So,
have beans?
so
There's beans
have
on?
you printed the 16 by 20 picture of Tori Bruno cuddling his dog in front of the fireplace on his table
I
yet?
want to.
No.
Low key, I kind of want to print it. Like, I'll be honest. I kind of want to print it. I get a printed of that because it's so boss.
It's
I still want him to sign it as well. Like,
you know what we do? That's where we put the candle underneath that picture and put it up by the head. That's
Man.
make
Wait,
a little
why we
altar
start
at the
talking
pre-
about-
we make a little altar at the press site, you know. Put a little.
oh
Like,
weather gods, if thou wilt not smite us
I think
once more.
Julia's gonna kill me for saying this because I think she's been trying to do this for a while. She's been trying to get the 45th to send cookies up on a weather balloon
Oh,
as,
that
as an
would be
offering to
amazing.
the upper level winds. Yeah.
Why don't-
And or the thick cloud rule.
Oh, the thick clouds. Yeah, please, gods, whoever it be.
Keep
please
the
don't-
thick boys away today, God.
Yes, we'll take
Why-
the thick boys later, but not right now.
Why send them on a balloon? Send them to the whoever runs the parody Twitter account.
You know what we need to do would be
That's true.
amazing is if we could get those cookies on a small sat,
Yeah. Oh my
like on a cube sat,
god.
and have it
We need
deploy
cro-
with
we
like
need
a
to
Rocket
crowdsource
Lab
to get
launch would be
Julius cookies in
amazing.
space.
Ooh.
Yes, on
Because
Electron.
you know Pete from Rocket Lab would be up for something crazy like that.
Oh, totally. He would probably fund it too. Like he like,
Yeah,
oh, look,
he-
you want to place cookies for good luck for launches? Yes, I'm down for anything you want to do.
As
No,
long as
wait.
it's outside, as long as it orbits outside of the safety zone for the ISS, we're good.
Wait,
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
a great idea for Julia to get cookies to the guys on the fairing catching boat. Put raw dough inside the fairing, and it bakes on the way down. They have fresh
Oh
cookies.
my
to go
god!
for fairing.
You have to reach You gotta reach optimal temperature. It has to happen.
It has, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen the videos. It definitely heats up.
And
That's
well, we also know that the fairings are designed to help maintain a certain environment for the satellite as well. So who knows? They might be able to bake going up with all the.
but that's on the way out.
Ooh, you know what? You
We
put
need
the
them to bake
cookies.
coming
You put the cookies on the nose cone heater on the
Ooh,
very
yes.
top.
Put it like right in the
Air,
right in.
cook it with air
Yes.
friction.
Yeah.
You're cooking it with air
Ooh.
friction.
Well, you know that there's a heater up in the nose, so it doesn't ice over as it goes
That
in up
makes
the
sense.
level. That's what that silver part is on top of the fairings.
Oh, I actually didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's
Learn
like
new
it's like a
things.
wingtip. It's like a wingtip heater.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
See, I know that one. So, did you know about that?
Yes.
Daryl didn't know about poppies. I had to teach him about poppies.
Popeyes? What?
Oh, poppy.
It's all about the nuggets, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you know, like so
Funny food.
when we went on when we did a helicopter tour for last time the Delta attempted the launch, we went on the helicopter tour. We went to the
You guys posted a couple of pictures, right?
yeah, we went to
Yeah.
the shuttle land facility. They had the little like the glide scope lights, and I think it was
Mhm.
poppies or with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to teach Daryl about them because they're so freaking cool. Like it's hands down. I will talk about this every week, Daryl. I don't care if it's boring. They are the coolest invention ever. Like it's
And
all.
if I recall, wasn't it a ripoff of the Navy ball system?
I don't. Whoever the hell created the original idea
Kinda
is a
is.
genius because
Yeah,
it's
because you know in the carrier where they have the they used to have the call the ball thing where the guy
well,
the guy
I
would be on
think-
deck.
But they changed. They physically changed those colors. I
Yeah,
don't- yeah, they're all yeah.
but the poppies
poppies-
were the automated.
Well, poppies are automated.
Yeah, automated. I'm doing a lot of air quotes tonight, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the coolest freaking thing ever. That it was literally just bulbs, and like depending on how you, oh my, it just blows my mind every time. Every single time.
there's
the coolest.
so much. I think a lot of people miss how much ingenuity is just in space stuff. Like
Yeah.
the amount of problems that have to be solved just getting a rocket to ignite. Like sound
Yeah.
suppression with water. Like people are like, isn't the water tower in case it explodes? I'm like, no, it's sound suppression. Like,
Yeah.
like you're literally protecting the pad from getting killed by the rocket. Like,
Yeah, and the rocket by itself, like getting
Yeah.
killed by itself. Yeah.
And to douse it right after, or for fire protection too, because
exactly.
that has
Yeah.
been happening before,
When you
too.
tell people that you literally were killed by a rocket, not by the heat, but by the sound alone.
But by
like,
the sound.
yeah, it's like the sound will kill you. Like, what do you? How does sound kill? It's just that fucking loud.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And,
Trust
and
me,
you
like-
think about everything from sound suppression to like where they put the cameras, and then they have the covers that go over certain cameras, like
And
like
then-
especially if you watch shuttle videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Like somebody had to design covers to cover cameras that would, and then they put paint on the outside that the paint would burn, so the actual covers don't get burned.
Yeah.
And like just the amount of ingenuity in space is just insane.
On 39A, they have like these like permanent cameras. I
Mhm.
think they're like filled. The boxes are like filled with helium or something like that. Like they're pressurized or something else.
Yeah, they pressurize it to help. Yeah.
It's like when they said that, I'm like I need to learn more about why, but like it's so like I didn't even think about that. Maybe on a remote camera.
basically
still have
like
that.
it's a glorified. Is it helium? But it's like a glorified version of like a hand warmer where they don't have to like run heat to it, but it maintains
Maybe.
an environment inside for the camera
Hmm.
that
We need
protects it
that.
from the
Space
extremes.
Explorer needs some funding to build those.
Because as you know with the Challenger, the shuttle has to deal with with money and
Yeah.
cold as well. You know,
But
from
yeah, it's
extreme
just
cold to
literally
extreme
they just
heat.
throw like a wad of cash into the payload fairing or payload bay of the
It's
shuttle
just-
after launch.
Yeah, the
Like, that's why it
SRBs, that's
costs so
not
much.
rocket fuel in there. That's just pure Washington's packed in there
The
like a
true
pencil.
power of a Washington. It can launch. It can literally launch a shuttle. How do you
I
think
thought-
they needed to keep the funding, right? You just throw the.
You know, 100 years from now, they're going to find an abandoned SRB, like in Alabama somewhere, and they're going to cut it open, and it's just going to be like $20 bills packed in like
Just stacked
circles,
up.
like a tree
Just
ring.
stacked.
Oh, that's what Senator Shelby did with all that money.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I
You're
went
like,
there.
100 years ago, they launched rockets with money.
Yeah.
Really, I thought it was with like pencil eraser stuff.
No, when they said they did it with slide rules, they weren't. They were sliding money across tables. That's what the rule was. You slide money across.
The rule is you slide it.
Yeah. Slide the money across. You pick it up, launch it.
Well, now in the
Speaking-
modern days, they slide the money like this. Oh man.
Oh, dude.
man, that
So
was-
yeah. But anyway, so yeah, so after bringing it full circle like a comedian, so to finish up how I ended up where I'm at now, I after that I ended up doing school administration for 2 years after the store closed, and then I spent a year doing real estate photography. Did a ton of drone hours with that and shot tons of houses with that. And so you learn a lot more about that. You learn about patience, and you learn about doing something other than taking pictures of people. So that just it taught me a patience game, and it taught me a timing game. So like when you planning out launches and planning out events and stuff, like you get used to it, and it trains you up for that. And it got me out of shooting everything at f2.8. When you shoot everything at f8 for a year, you start rethinking how you shoot everything. So now, as a result of that, any of the events and stuff I do with people, I'm actually shooting everything at f4 now, because it saves so many shots. Like if your focus just misses a little bit, you end up having a little bit more focus just to get like a patch in focus, or keep an eye kind of in focus, because people move a lot and people aren't always on cue.
Yeah.
So forcing myself to do something I had never done before, basically just open up my mind to rethink how I shoot everything. And as a result of that, I've been actually getting better pictures. Go figure.
So basically, don't spend the money on the f2.8 glass.
Well, no, you do. Like if you want to shoot stars, you definitely need f2.8. Like if you want to get the moon and
Yeah.
portraits are great. Like 1.8, 1.4 is great, but like you don't always have to do that. There's people who go out there and shoot everything at 1.4, and that's cool. Like that's your thing. But there's so much more to be found from trying other things and shooting a little differently, because like I said, f4 saved a lot of things where like a military grip and grin, when you go to take a picture of that, you don't get a second chance, and you get 1 second to do it. And there's either you have a commander who's like totally cool with you taking a couple, or you have a commander who'll literally do the shake, or right now with the social distancing turnaround look, and you get 1 second. So focus and continuous f4, because you never know if you're going to hit it, and just fire them off. And so I live in a world now where you just have to be able to nail it every time, whether or not you like it.
Yeah.
So so it makes you shoot a little differently. So that got me into that, and then after that I ended up at Patrick. So yeah, so that's long story short in a weird roundabout sort of way, but that's my story.
That's cool. That's
That's the photography side of me. There's a whole nother side, but
It only took us an hour to get around to that point.
right to get to get to
Boy, that was a fun ride too.
Boom, boom. Oh, boom! There we go.
boom, yeah, done.
Hey, you talk about planning stuff out, like planning out your projects and your shots and things like that. You would absolutely cringe hearing me and Seth trying to plan out pad shots. Good Lord, do we fight?
I'm sure. I mean, so like my whole thing is I'm obsessive compulsive. Like I'm an obsessive compulsive person who tends to overthink things, but because of that, I don't miss events and things always happen. So like I don't show up to a launch with like one camera and a battery. I've got like 5 batteries for a camera that would shoot 5 days worth of shots.
Same
on
as
one
well.
battery.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've got multiple lenses, and I have a backup plan for a backup plan. So like I've got hey, if this doesn't work, I'll do this, and if this doesn't work, I'll do that. And I've got my Canon C100 that I run every single time, so I'm shooting video just in case everything else fails. I've got a camera running.
I brought when I did remote setup, was it yesterday? I don't remember when it was, Monday, whatever it was.
One of those days.
Those-
One of those remote setup days.
You
I
mean,
brought
you
it
mean this month or the other month that this happened?
yesterday when we were rushing because of the Phase 2 lightning.
Dude, that was fun.
Well, I didn't get as much time as you because I got in right as you guys were going through the gate. I told you. I told
Oh,
you.
so you were at the tail end of the group.
I was behind the guy who should be the last guy.
Oh shoot.
Oh.
And well, Jim, like, cause Jim called. I called Jim like 45 minutes before.
Because I saw John sneak in too. They came in right in the middle of it too.
I called Jim at like 45 minutes till because my GPS said I'm gonna get there like at 47 or 46. He goes like, that's fine. I'm still checking people in, and then I'm turning on the 401, or is it 401, right? Whatever the road to get to the port to get to Sands.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls me. He goes, we have to leave now for lightning. So what car you use so I can just clear you at the gate. And I get in literally right at the end, like, and as I get out, I had the guy who parks us. He goes like, where's your sticker? And I'm like, Jim. I don't know. Jim's my sticker. And then the guy I was behind, he gets out and he did not look happy at me. He goes he just does this, and I go, Jim. And then Jim clears it all up. Jim got me a sticker, and I'm like, and then I brought an extra tripod. I don't know why, like, in case the tripod breaks, I brought a third tripod. I have 2 cameras, but I brought a third one. So
The Boy Scout motto: be prepared.
yes,
I mean,
was never
you know,
a Boy Scout,
honestly,
but I was close.
like I think about everything. I look at the weather. I have apps that, you know, right on my phone that tell me everything from. I have a wind one that tells me the wind. I've got, you know, radar one that shows me all the TFRs. So I kind of overplan everything. But at the same time, I've always managed to get a shot. So like, if photography is the one thing where you can go extreme as far as like planning, having gear ready, and getting too early to things. Like for DM2, both days I got there at 9 a.m. because I needed a spot.
Yeah.
And you know so I was at the press site, but I needed to find a spot because I knew, number one, you're gonna have president there and stuff, so you don't want to get in there later when he's showing up.
Yeah.
So, you know, you get in early, and it's tough the whole day, but you get to watch stuff happen. And if you look at the picture of the president, vice president watching the launch, and you look down on the left, I'm the little bokeh dot. In the left, right next to all the Secret Service guys standing around behind me watching me shoot this. And sure enough, I had a camera that didn't trigger for DM2. So I had 2 cameras on tripods, and I had a D700 that just I hit off the trigger and it never fired. But my 610 and my 750 handheld, you know, those went. So you know, you always have a backup, you know, because that was an important launch.
I'm just looking forward to the day I can actually go and set up one of my own, because 2 of my cameras are out there right now, but I didn't put them there.
Yep.
I trusted that.
And Jared Bass told us, because he did the reset today, that they should still both be fine. He only got to reset 1 camera with the time constraints due to the rain, but
I saw the way that rain was coming down. Oh God!
Dude, when I got done and I looked up and I just saw around, I'm like,
I was out there and stuff survived. Like I'm less worried about it after my gear, at least with my setup, went through HF6, because that's where we had the 2-day rain delay. So it actually sat in the pad for almost 3 days.
Yeah.
And it was fine. So I'm like, you know, it'll be okay.
Now, was that today? Was it just like a straight down, kind of just pouring down?
I watched the first band come in from Exploration Tower, and it literally looked like a gray sheet just kind of dragging itself across the landscape.
Okay,
yeah.
so
the second one, the rain that came in today it wasn't as bad as last night's, like Monday nights.
But you guys did get some 50-mile-an-hour gusts up there, though.
Yeah.
Like I was watching the anometers up there, and it was a little sketchy for a second.
But I have mine staked. They're staked down. Don't worry. They're staked down. Well, they have 1 stake down. I didn't have time to do 2 stakes, but
so that was your camera. One of yours is next to mine, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have
and
two, I have
when the
two of them
steak's
with
hanging
one.
up, I was tempted to go screw it in for you, but
I just like pushed it down on the ground, and I'm like, if I do it all the way down to the ground, like with a full steak, I'm never gonna pull it back up, like, or what about that? And so I left like it was like 2 inches I think up with my steaks. I was gonna do like 2 more steaks, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. The bases are pretty wide out there. I made them wider, so they should be fine. So, but
Y'all making me nervous.
speaking of crying at a rocket area, like you cry at Atlantis. I get really somber when I'm out at Apollo 1 where we have the
oh yeah, same. Mm-hmm.
the
Did you?
the
Oh, Daryl's never
lights.
been to Apollo 1 pad. You need to do.
Oh,
You need to go to the
really?
KAC tour.
I've never been.
Hey, by the way, quick plug: the Air Force Space Missile Museum at the Cape is reopening to full hours starting October 6th.
Do they go to the Apollo 1 pad?
I believe that there's part of a tour that does.
I
I
know
don't
there's
know
the
what the
early
plan is for that.
There's the early
But there's
space tour at
Beautiful
KC.
redstone at the museum.
Okay, yeah, because they do the early space tour at KC, and that goes to Apollo 1. Also goes
And
to
it's
the
actually
45th.
It's perfect timing because the right stuff did film
Yes.
in the missile museum, and I watched them do their stuff, and it was pretty cool. And all I can say is that when you see stuff, what they're modeling is off of the real stuff.
Yeah, it's
So
cool.
they were filming the redstone and all that stuff, so it was really cool to see.
Nice. I've never been to a pad. Closest I've been is the observation gantry at 39, which is a phenomenal spot to photograph.
Yeah,
I've done some of my best work from there.
Yeah,
and
no,
it's
it was
weird
fun.
because they're getting a little sketchier about it now,
What about the gantry?
about the observation gantry.
Well,
What about-
especially with atlases with the wind, like they're
Oh.
always canceling it pretty much. That's what we were supposed to have with Solar Orbiter.
Yeah.
Salty still.
I was mad about that one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But no, it was fun driving on base for what was it?
We'll have to
Mars-
rectify that, Daryl. We'll have to figure a way
Yeah.
to get you out on a rocket.
Yeah, when we were
Yeah.
driving out there with Daryl, because it was his first time on base, and he was driving on, and I was like, and I'm like, oh man, I should have drove because he's like like just trying
Is
to
that a
take
tree?
just trying to take. I'm like, oh my god, hangers, oh my god, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I should have drove because now.
So
now we're in danger.
I had been at the Cape a couple times before with a friend of mine who used to work there, and a couple other times. There was one time an air show years ago. I think it was 2007 or 8, somewhere in there, where they actually did a Blue Angels air show, and one of the guys had the girl, one of the pilots, I think she was a girl, she had a baby or something. So they flew with a 5-ship formation the entire time and did an air show at the Cape. So we're out at the we're at the NASA Causeway watching the whole show. And so I've been out there before and all that cool stuff. But it's you try not to geek out when you finally get the full behind the scenes tour with your boss in the car. Like you're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Totally. Yep. Yeah,
I
that's
know
really cool.
exactly.
And inside your head, you're like, holy crap, I meant to see this when I was out there.
When I was on the
Like-
bus for ULA Social, I was like, yeah, it's all cool. Yep, everything's cool. Because I was like, I was like, this is like my third time meeting some people, and I'm like, I want to be a cool guy. I'm like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I know that hangar. That's cool. Yeah. You know?
So I did the Grail NASA Social, one of the last Delta, the Delta 2s.
Oh wow.
And that was where they sent the 2 little satellites that did a magnetic imaging of the moon,
Yeah.
which is actually part of what they're using some of that data now to start planning for lunar landing and orbiting and stuff too, because they've been actually able to measure the magnetic and I think the magnetic field of the
Yeah,
moon.
that's what it was. I think it was from magnetic field.
And
Yep.
So Neil deGrasse Tyson was there, and
Oh,
Lieutenant
nice.
Earl was there too. And so we had a scrub, and I should have been tracking Neil better at that point, and I spent 3 hours talking with him on the NASA Causeway.
Oh,
And later on, I'm like, oh, that's why that guy was so smart. Like, it's one of those things where I wasn't really tracking at that point. I'm like, oh, we're talking to some cool guy. He knows what he's talking about. And then you realize you were having a debate with the Neil deGrasse Tyson, but it was a cool day.
Oh man, I still want to talk with him. That'd be such a cool day to sit down, just like Neil, blow my mind. Just I don't care what it's about. It could be just whatever.
No
it is.
matter what you think of him, it's hard to win a debate with somebody who is ahead of you.
Yeah, that's very
his,
true.
his mind is 2 steps ahead of anything you could say, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like that
No,
just
yeah.
that was what makes him smart. Like, and I have nothing but admiration for that man just because of how I experienced him in person.
I want to drink with that guy.
Yeah, dude.
Actually, wait, have y'all seen there's apparently a YouTube series that has celebrities on where they're sitting there eating hot wings and they get progressively hotter and
Oh
hotter.
yes.
They
Yep.
start asking
Yes.
Oh,
And-
it's on First We
and-
Feast. I can't remember what's the name of the show with Sean Evans.
Yes.
But
Hot
they-
ones.
they-
Hot ones.
Hot ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot ones.
yeah, they had
That
Neil
guy-
on.
I aspired to know the questions to be like, as good of an interviewer as he is. Oh my, he digs deep into his people. Like he pulls
Yeah.
out like Instagram posts from like 8 years, like from
Mhm.
first original Instagram like app, and he goes like, "What happened?" And he,
So you guys at Rudd's probably need to do a space version of that where it's like, where did I source this Capcom file?
You know,
we needed to pull out like we have Tori Bruno on, just pull out one of his like random pictures, like what was happening, just what
know
was
what, when it's-
happening here, like
when it's socially acceptable to start being together again, whenever I make trips to Florida, we're gonna have to do something similar to that with our guests, where we like
Yeah.
have them eat like spicy foods that
man,
get the rest of
I
the
can't do
time out.
hot wings, man. It's gonna be terrible. That's gonna be such a terrible episode if you're just eating hot wings.
That's gonna be fun.
You
I
guys are
think-
gonna be sweating at the end of it, going, "Well, it's nice to see you
It was
guys."
me just be like, how did you know you wanted to do space? Space.
Do space. Is
And
there
I'm just gonna be sitting here going, "What?"
the Venn diagram between a delta and an atlas is?
I had a really I had an idea like on Sundays I wanted to do something like this, but like with Kerbal. I wanted to have like Elon Musk or like Tori Bruno on and be like, what is happening right now? Explain what's happening. Like, like build a rocket that you would like to have like in.
Speaking of what's happening, I don't know if you guys have been tracking this, but some of the weird stuff that I've been watching, especially on the Twitterverse, has been things like when Dynetics looks at their lunar lander, and their proposal includes 3 Vulcan launches to get it to the moon.
Yeah.
If we can't deal with this schedule right now, this is just preparing us for
I
2
don't
years
want to
from now,
think
where it's
about
gonna
Starship.
we're like it's gonna be lit all the time. Like it's gonna be like one giant rap video where everything's just happening all at once. And
I don't want to know
Well,
how we're
they
gonna do remote setup when we have like back to back to back like launches.
you're gonna need a dedicated camera on every pad. That's what's gonna happen.
You're
You're,
gonna-
just
yeah.
gonna literally go there. They're gonna bring you out.
Or-
You flip cards and batteries and go. Like
I'm gonna need more cameras.
Yeah, we're gonna need more cameras. We're gonna need way more cameras. Like-
I'm gonna get a cot and sleep in a hangar or something. You know?
Yeah, you gotta do that. What hangar did Mercury astronaut sleep in? Was that E?
Oh shit!
M?
It was,
Hangar M?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
M or was it AE? I can't remember. It was one
M
of
or
those.
A? Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. Yeah, you just gotta sleep in that one. Get some monkeys in there, and all the photographers should sleep in one of the hangars.
Oh, that would be a great like party after a high profile launch or something like
But
that.
you know, I'm
Well-
trying to imagine, like, we see the Space Coast now. We're like, holy cow! There's 3 rockets trying to leave pads right now. And then at the same point, you think about it, and you're like, what's it going to look like when you've got New Glenn on a pad, and you've got SpaceX on both pads?
You have
Dude,
SpaceX trying to keep up with Starlink launches, and you have like
Right.
a crew launch that SpaceX is trying to do, and now you're trying to launch
'Cause-
SLS to the moon, and
Right.
and
Yeah,
maybe the
dude, you have
lander as well,
SLS,
like-
and who knows? Omega's dead. Who's going to get 39C? Somebody's going to pick up 39C. Like, you
Yeah.
know,
yeah, like I don't like I just like how are we gonna do it? Like how is the 45th gonna do it? That's the real question. Because
so I'm going to say this
gonna
from
be-
being inside and being around all the command and stuff.
Mhm.
If there's something I can say publicly, it's that the Air Force, in my experience in the background, is honestly one of the, and this is not, nobody's paying me to say this, but it's honestly some of the best group of people I've ever worked with. There have been times where I've been in situations where I deserve zero respect, and I get nothing but respect from people that will get paid more than me I'll never make more money than them. I'll never be in the position they're in, and they still hand out the amount of respect that I would. I'm sitting there going, I'm just here to take a picture, and you're still making sure I'm taken care of, and you're hosting me. And in reality, I'm just here to do a picture and do a job.
Yeah.
And the amount of work and time people put in, there's just a lot of good people behind the scenes. And so whether or not the cadence gets insane, I know they're up for it.
Mhm.
And they're working a lot with a little. And it's like that Winston Churchill quote, never has been, and everybody's like, it's the Space Wing, what do? They sit there and they guard the gate and stuff. But when you think about it, we have some of the best weather forecasters out there, and they're the ones who are getting to call shots whether or not rockets go up. Like, they're actually protecting rockets. And I've gotten to meet a lot of the weather guys, and those guys are they're at the top of their game. They're doing 24-hour rotation schedules, and they're burning the midnight oil. And these guys show up for launches. Security forces guys that get up late at night and work, sitting there guarding who knows what that nobody will ever drive around, but they're making sure nobody gets near a pad. And just a lot of people that work hard, and sometimes they're just doing it as a job, but there's some people out there that are doing it more than just a job. But no matter what, like, this is not me, this is me. I'm not, I'm out of my work thing right now, but it's just me personally experiences that it's really some of the best people out there that I've ever worked with in my entire life are the people at the 45th, and the work they put in. And there'll be people say, well, what about this, what about that? But in general and in a whole, they really are working for a mission, and they do want to make sure that all the people out there that are using the property and trying to get rockets up there, trying to make it work. Like, when you see a scrub, they feel it just as much as anybody else does. It's like, they've got to go back out again. Jim Williams, who's the awesome chief, he's got to drive back out. He goes back out just as much as anybody else does to launches and all that. So I've got no reason to complain, because there's plenty of people out there doing exactly what I'm doing every time there's a scrub. So there's just a ton of support, and they put a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of stuff getting taken care of. And there's a whole, we have our force support squadron at Patrick that, make sure people get fed, and they run restaurants, and they do all these other things that you don't see in the background. All the air traffic controllers that are monitoring, airfields all the time, whether or not there's a plane out there or not, monitoring the airspace, making sure stuff's safe. So there's so many little gears. And then that's just the 45th. You don't even get into all the guys working for ULA, the guys working on roads out there, the people expanding stuff, building new infrastructure. There's just, there's so much going on there. There's everything. You're running everything from electrical and gases and everything out there. Like, just the intense amount of work out there. It's amazing that stuff goes up.
Yeah.
All the coordination required, and people have to get over each other's egos and try to work stuff out. Like, when you scrub, you might not be able to get your rocket up. People, we're waiting. SpaceX is waiting. ULA is waiting. SpaceX, NASA's waiting on somebody. Stuff takes a while. Satellites take forever to process. They run into an issue. There's so much. There's a lot of hurry up and wait. And one thing I've learned in the last year and a half is that space is really just a patience game. If you can't, and it's really cool to see Crew 1 get named Resilience, because if you can't be resilient, you can't handle how space works.
Yeah.
And that's really what I've learned, is that there's just a ton of resilient people out there. And, so it's been really cool to see the background, because my respect level went from, that's cool, these people are smart, to holy cow, I get to take pictures and watch these people do what they do. So it's like nothing but respect for all the guys, all the girls, all the people I know out there. They do good work. So that's not a plug or anything. That's really just my experience, So
to US Space Force MIL/recruitment.
It's actually, the recruitment still through the Air Force website too.
Yeah,
so.
I think so. Yeah. But
that was on my radar for a while. After getting laid off last year, I was like, well, screw this. I'm gonna actually go be part of this and go enlist. But I have family obligations that make it really tough to leave.
What's crazy is they're taking people to 38, and if you want to get in the medical field, they don't look at your age.
I've got 2 years
I
left.
don't know if I can do medical. I don't know if I can do medical. I don't know if anyone. I don't know if anyone wants to trust me with that. So
No.
I
You
don't
don't know how to
trust-
suture with your eyes closed with bombs going
I
off in the
don't trust
background. Come
myself with
on.
medical. So
No, I said if I enlist, it's going to be stationed in Florida as part of the 45th. As a backup, I'll go be a photographer for the Air Force because I mean, just go and photograph for the Air Force in general. You know,
dude, I just followed a guy on TikTok. He's a photographer for the Air Force, and he does air shows. for the
Talking
Air
about Sam. He's the guy with the F-22 demo team.
Yes. Yeah, he always he wears his black jumpsuit.
Yes, he has the coolest jumpsuit.
He has the,
And he's
he
actually-
has the
yeah,
coolest job.
He's on a PA track. I mean, he's shooting with Canon and Sony, and
Yeah.
dude, yeah.
I envy him. I envy him.
I
love
actually,
to do
he
that.
actually talked to me one time. I sent him a message on Instagram, and he actually sent me a couple messages. He's a really cool guy.
Man.
And he's just, he's one of those guys. But he's, he made it through. He did the college track and got in as a lieutenant, and he's
Right.
doing his thing. And that's the big thing is what a lot of people don't understand. The military is, picking your track is really going to determine, how far you go.
Mm-hmm.
Enlisted is, a completely different track than the rest of it. So, it's everybody's in different career fields and there's different stuff. So they've done a lot of internal hiring in the Space Force right now, but I'm actually really excited about what will happen with the Space Force because they're, space is becoming a pretty insane,
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're watching the ISS have to do 180-second burns to clear away from pieces of Japanese
Dude,
rocket from
shit's
20
about-
year ago or whatever.
Shit is about to get real.
It's happening. I mean,
Yeah.
what's crazy is Starlink's never going to go away. A couple of
I'm very curious.
It's a 5-year lifespan for those things. So they
Yes.
deorbit after 5 years.
So like in
So-
5 years they're gonna sign up another 60 because
It's going to be
more than
constant
that.
renewal. Yeah.
yeah, it's
so,
gonna be constant launches. It's gonna be crazy.
I saw some Twitter account that was following it, and there's something like 1 or 2 of the newer ones have like lost tracking and they're deorbiting already. So they've already got to replace those. The original ones have deorbited.
Yeah,
like, once
Tintin
you
A
already
and
have
B
the
are already
backup
sad. It's so sad they deorbited.
Like, it's crazy if they
I
know
know.
that 2 of
I
them
felt
are
I
dead.
saw him grow up.
We're running over Daryl.
Yeah, I know. Daryl. Yeah, whatever. Daryl. Whatever. That's why he's on the bottom.
Oh my god.
Dude, I'm gonna start taking over the streams.
I used to start the show with an insult to Daryl every time. So.
This is our relationship.
Yeah, and it doesn't change. Whenever we see each other, it's insults, and don't stop.
Full disclaimer: I've only watched 2 of these episodes so far, but in all fairness, I barely watch podcasts because I barely have time. So, you guys should count yourself lucky because
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Yes. I need to get the upload schedule better on the audio version. So it's so bad, but
This week has thrown everything off schedule.
yeah, we're doing
I
it on
think
Tuesday night. Like,
It's not
Yeah,
done
so it looks like everything is going to jump back again. So they're going to go for tomorrow night, and then SpaceX will probably push off to who knows what. And
is weather still at 80% go for tomorrow?
right now, according to 45th Weather Squadron on their public page, I think we're still at 20 and 30 for violation, which is awesome.
Nice.
Because that's if you can keep SpaceX at 30 or less,
It's
it's
30.
going to go.
It's 30 for tomorrow.
Yeah, if you can keep ULA at 20 or less, it's going to go. If you can keep SpaceX at 30 or less, they'll definitely.
I
get
mean,
Starlink up.
vehicle too.
I mean, I don't know. Psycom went and it was like
That's true.
that was like a 90% no.
Nobody thought that was going to happen. That was
I
that
didn't
was the
think it was gonna
weirdest
happen
night.
either.
I wasn't even ready. Like all my shots are dark because I was like, oh, whatever, this is not happening. I kind of
Mine
gave
are
up.
all unfocused.
Oh my god.
Every,
Do you do manual for launch?
I do manual for launch. Yeah. I have a
Oh,
Tamron.
you
I have a
have
Tamron.
Canon, don't you?
I have a Tamron
Oh, too
150 600,
bad.
and the autofocus on that is not great, to be honest. Like,
Really?
it's a little slow. Like it's
What
pretty,
what focus mode are you using on your Canon? If you were
I
to
think
go auto, what would you use?
I gotta check. I usually always. I think it's one shot, I believe.
Because what you need to do is you need to get into get out of, if you're doing your autofocus system, get out of AFA.
Yeah.
Or what is Canon called?
AI servo, whatever.
Yeah, you want to get into servo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to do
So-
servo. I used to do that, but then when I've been doing with the churches, I do one shot because I don't want it to keep on like autofocusing. It
So
needs to like
I
stick
did
there
a
so I can
whole.
reframe it.
I used to teach a class on autofocus or focus theory,
Yeah.
and it was my highest reviewed class. And basically, I went through why different systems work the way they do. So I live out of AFC on Nikon, and on the 750, I do group focus almost 100%, and so I can autofocus all my line shots and
Mhm.
just literally let it track. And AFC is always going to constantly track because it's, especially if you keep in the middle, use the cross point focus.
Yeah.
See,
And
I've changed up my style based on time of day of the launch.
okay,
Yeah.
If it's at night, I'll go manual because about 10 seconds off the pad, you can't really see much of the rocket anymore.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's when I stopped shooting at night.
yeah,
I give up after.
I need to stop doing that too. I when I went for Psycom, I set it up and I'm like, I didn't even. I was at the beach like south of the pier, of the Cocoa Beach Pier, and I'm like, I have no idea where it's gonna launch from. Like I don't know where. I don't see any pad other than the Blue Origin pad. I can't get my bearings at all where this thing's coming from.
you need a
So I was
compass.
pointing in a completely wrong direction, and I had focus
Google
on
Maps.
it's just like it's north, like just point it north.
Right.
Like okay,
Car
thank you.
compass says north.
Yeah, it's just like I look and I'm like north, but like even if you look in there, like you can't like the pad. What pad it comes from makes a difference from like, is it gonna be like the tip of the pier or the back of the pier or the middle of the pier? I just pointed it north.
See, that's where I have a lot of respect because you guys sometimes shoot from some really cool and crazy angles that I don't do just because I have my default spots.
Mhm.
Because part of my job is making sure I try to document from our property.
Yeah.
So I'm always shooting from base, even when the shot isn't the greatest, just because I want to say I shot it on base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've done a lot of night stuff at 2.8 on a 70 to 200. Yeah,
That's not
in
bad.
autofocus.
That's probably not that bad. Yeah, but
It's not too bad.
I got to deal with like f6, a 600, and I'm like, and it just went off, and I'm like, and so I didn't really have enough. I went and I took some photos. I'm like, yeah, I'm in focus, and like, then it went in the clouds, and then I'm like, I have no idea where it is anymore. Like once it went in the clouds, I'm like, I'm lost.
So is that 600 on your 70 or
my
your
70?
Okay, so you're shooting 900.
Yeah.
Basically, you're shooting a
Pretty much.
900 millimeter shot. So
Yeah, and it was like
some-
it was out of
some of
focus, and like I got amazing shots. I don't know how I didn't notice it was in focus. Like
are you on a tripod or no?
tripod. Yeah.
So,
And so-
do you leave the stabilization on or not?
I leave it on just because
Don't. Your picture will suddenly be sharp and all will be revealed.
maybe that was the issue. I have no idea, but like I
So,
was tracking it
gimbal head.
perfectly, and because the way I had it, because I had my camera up higher than my head, so when I go down, it's more comfortable. And so when it was coming back down, it was like I couldn't really see through the, and so I could see a little bit, and like it's focused. And so like as it was coming back down, it went right between the two Blackhawks that were doing. I don't know what they do, but like the two Blackhawks that were there, and it amazing shot of the rocket and the Blackhawk, both out of focus.
Ugh. And that's why we're patching pixels for 2 months.
That gimbal head off.
And I just saw that. I'm like,
Nailed that shot with my R. I really could have. Because did you notice how I shot Perseverance?
you
Yes.
you did like you had like the on the video.
That's the thing with mirrorless is whether you look through the viewfinder or you look at the screen, it's the same thing.
If I would have
So-
done screen, it would have been way too dark for me
Gotta
to
be
see
comfortable.
anything.
When I get uncomfortable, like I get down low and I'm trying to do this number, that's when I screw up shots. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to track it like this, looking through the viewfinder the whole time, steady shooting all the way through.
And that's a win for mirrorless. That's
Yeah.
That is a win. Yeah, I so want
And,
a R6.
and it's
so bad.
also that gimbal head.
Oh,
That
shut
gimbal-
up with your gimbal head. It's a glorified fluid head.
No.
Stop it. It's
Oh
a
no, gimbal's so much more. So much
Thank
more.
you.
Not like a 3-axis gimbal, just like the birders use. Like it's all it is. It's barely. It's not a gimbal. It's
Dude,
not
the
a
way
true
it
gimbal.
moves- The way it moves is so much smoother for
Oh,
tracking.
yeah.
The direction it goes, it helps with actual tracking, especially looking through that
Okay.
viewfinder because the
I
body's
will.
going.
I will admit.
I used to. So you're talking to a guy who used to sell camera gear,
Yeah,
and people
don't-
would come in and go, "My bird shots suck," and I would be like, "Spend $500 on this gimbal head, and I will never see you again." And they would never come back in the store.
I
didn't
can
even
okay.
spend that
I can get behind that. You know what? Maybe it's better a little bit with like up and down, but like
I'm
it
telling you, bro.
from for I would admit that for SciComm, it would have helped because I did like bottom out my tripod. Like it couldn't go any higher.
I would be using a gimbal head if I was shooting crop, but I'm shooting like a 500 and a 400 millimeter on full frame, so I just kick in the stabilization. I'm shooting Delta at night handheld.
See,
Damn.
I think I'm also really because I spent a lot of money on a really good fluid head.
Yeah, so you have to defend. You have to
I have to
defend that
defend-
purchase.
I have to defend that purchase.
Defend
It's
my
such-
honor.
But the thing is, I tried out his gimbal head and my fluid head, and I'm like, I don't see a difference other than like you might have a little more freedom of range a little bit with the gimbal.
Did
I
you
don't
balance
see a
it?
difference.
Ooh, yeah. Did you balance it?
Whatever he gave it to me, he put the camera on it and gave it to me to play. So
You gotta balance
if
weight
you-
on it so that
If you
lose
balance it,
The
you
thing
can
is-
literally guide your camera with your
It's-
pinky. Like
for fluid, same thing. You just had to get
Now,
the resistance right, and you're fine.
when I was doing real estate, my boss had the 3-way head with the
Yeah.
3-way adjustable that was always locked in.
Mhm.
And that's a huge game changer versus a ball versus anything else, because when you can just sit there and change your axis and leave it the whole time,
Yeah.
it saves so much time. So there's a
Isn't
different
that
head
what
for everything.
I'm buying you a gimbal head for Christmas. I'm buying you the one I have.
Oh, you are? Awesome. Thanks, Daryl. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
look at this!
It's so nice. I appreciate it. You know what?
Lives are
And I'm
being
gonna get you a
changed.
phone with really big numbers on it.
Get off my lawn.
that automatically connects to Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my god! And it's gonna have life alert built in.
Yep.
Oh my god!
Exactly. You can set up. I'm gonna get you Life Alert for Christmas. That's what I'll get
And
you.
you're gonna get him the case with the white tux.
And I'm gonna get it because I care about you, Daryl.
Get off my lawn.
I'm gonna get you an Apple Watch that you'll never take off. I'm gonna get you two, so you could always have one on, even when you're
Get
charging
him the
the
new
other
one
one.
with the pulse ox. You got to get him the one. With the
Yeah.
pulse
And so I can
ox.
also have GPS tied to him wherever he goes, so I know where he's at. Like, why is he not on roads?
Hey, it's cool. He's tagged. Let's just go.
Oh
Yeah.
crap! We left him at the remotes.
That's my
Jim,
rocket.
Jim, we have to go back. I left my child. I left my almost 40-year-old child.
You come
Stop.
back and he's hanging onto the tripod. I forgot the anchors. I'm gonna stay here with the camera.
I need to hold it down.
I'm the anchor. I'm the anchor.
But the wind.
Oh god.
Come on, Daryl. We gotta go. Leave your tripod. No.
I should not be joking this much because I don't know you too well, Daryl. So. This
Oh
is
no,
not
it's
it.
fine.
This is perfect.
It's great.
This is perfect.
This is literally from my experience with you on Twitter. So. Because Twitter knows all.
All right,
Oh.
we've been going for about an hour and a half, so we got
Yeah.
we probably gotta cut. We gotta cut
Oh.
this one done. What?
Going back to air shows real fast. Who's going to the one on Halloween weekend?
I'm not, because it's gonna be spending a lot of money to see the Thunderbirds, as I've seen way too many times. I've seen them.
I don't get the.
20
I've only
times?
seen them once.
I've never
Okay,
seen.
so
the
yeah,
Thunderbirds.
if you haven't seen the Thunderbirds, this is a great reason to go. But
I've only seen them once. I've seen the Blue Angels 3 times now, and the last time I've seen each of them was at Biloxi Beach in Mississippi, and all of
Okay.
my pictures came out like crap because of that,
'Cause of the
middle of
heat.
summertime haze right there on the water.
yeah,
They were all
no, that gets hazy with the sea salt. Yeah, no.
yeah.
If
No,
you,
I want a second.
I honestly, I don't know what the viewing will be like there, because this is the first time they've ever done air show at Sanford.
Well, I'm going to be in the photo pit where all like the
Okay.
pro photographers are at, and I'm going to be there on Sunday the 1st, the day before. Got a lunch, so
And hopefully there's no scrub.
yeah. Or if there is, it goes back to the other side of Sunday, so I can still go to the air show.
Right, yeah, it's human spaceflight has different scrubs than Starlink.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not just 24 hours or
different
a few
reset.
days usually.
But Stewart, though, my eyes were opened to the fact that Stewart has some of the best air show performers out there. Matt
Yes,
Yaukin.
I've heard they're very good.
He's a guy who flies a 50s, 60s era twin Bonanza, or not twin Bonanza, twin Lockheed. and he flies without pumps in his fuel. So he's literally doing full aerobatic maneuvers using gravity to keep fuel to the engines.
What?
And once you understand it, and once you think about that and you watch him fly, it is worth the price of everything to see this man do his thing. I saw him at Titusville a couple of years ago, and it's just, I saw him at Sun and Fun too. And it's incredible. And the smoke that comes out, it's a black and red plane, so your focus is going to lock in. It's like watching SRBs come out the back because he's working with two giant radials. So it's like two Texans flying close to each other, making a heck of a lot of noise. And you watch him do like full Immelmans and figure eights and everything, and you realize that he's literally had to plan his entire routine to make sure he's feeding fuel to the engines, because the original plane has no fuel pump assist. So it's all gravity fed. So so yeah,
my
so
mind hurts.
gravity, yeah, it hurts. But and then you're gonna have all 3 or 4 of the Air Force demo teams there. So there's gonna be an F-35, an F-22.
Oh, I really want to see the F-35 team. That would be a really cool one to see.
I've seen F-35, totally worth watching. Not my favorite jet. That's a long story, but you have to go because the F-22 is the best thing to watch.
Yeah.
And if the humidity is above 60%,
I don't think I've seen F-22 or F-35. I've seen an F-22 fly, but I've not seen their demo team. I've seen Thunderbirds. I think they went to Oshkosh one year. That's where I remember seeing Thunderbirds over my house. During their stuff.
I have an F-22 20 feet away on film.
Oof.
Yeah.
I've seen Blue Angels way too many times.
You know,
Yeah.
I love
they used to do like the close up, like where they all flap real close.
Yep.
They did that over my house like all the time. Like and not at a high altitude like where they usually practice. Like they would do like low level stuff too.
Yeah, the low level mountain.
Yeah, like high enough to where they won't like shatter windows, but low enough to where you can really hear it. And I think an F-22, like when the F-22 was newer, like when it first started being used, I think they brought they flew around. But I remember they had the B2, B1, and what's the the Flying Wings B2, the F-117.
Oh, the Nighthawk.
The Nighthawk.
So true story. Westover Air Force Base. I went to an air show when I was like 13 or 14. I was 15, and it was the first time they put an F-117 outside of a hangar. So I'm walking around it as a kid, an operational 117, and I still remember every second of that to this day.
That's a weird thing seeing flying. It's a really weird looking.
It's weirder to be next to it because you walk around, and my dad's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm looking at this plane. Leave me alone." And I walked around it like 20 times because you can just watch the shape change. It goes from like Fat Boy, like from the back. It just looks like huge, wide, giant, like B2 style. And then you go on the side and you're like, this is like a flying wedge. And then you go on the front and you're like, this thing just looks sleek.
It's like
none of it makes sense.
Seeing it fly, it's like all of a sudden like you get when it banks and like all of a sudden you see the bottom of it and like it's completely flat.
Yeah.
And you can see it all flat, and all of a sudden then it banks towards you like what? And then like it turns towards you like what?
And so I asked the pilot. I remember talking to the pilot and I said, so I watched the documentary and they said it was like. Without the computer, it's like a wrench being thrown through the air. And he's like, no lie. He's like, if I lose this computer, I'm going to lose the plane.
Wow.
Like, he's like, the computer is helping me fly because the thing cannot fly on its own. It's literally adjusting for stuff. It's because it's not an aerodynamic aircraft.
Oh, not not at all.
And so it was cool to, get that verified. He's like, we rely on this computer.
The B1, that's like the stealth like fighter bomber or something like that, or fire.
Well, the B2 is the flying wing.
Yeah,
the B1B is the supersonic. It looks like 2 F-14 strapped to the back of a cargo aircraft. It's the one with the mid tail and the four F-15 engines on it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
That's the one where the computer is the equivalent of a Commodore 64.
Oh, I love hearing analogies like that.
Yeah, I was a nerd kid. I was the one who paid attention to, I'm the guy who goes to air shows and I pay attention to them going, the C5 can hold the equivalent of 1,765 ping pong balls.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't remember. I think oh, they used
B2
did they use C5, C17s for when they moved the president around? All like
C-17s. They're using the C-17s.
Yeah.
Those are the smaller 4-engine high
Mhm.
T-tail.
those are
yeah,
interesting to see up close as well. The weirdest thing I ever saw at my airport because it's an air reserve wing, yeah, it's a reserve or a National Guard. I can't remember which one. I think it's Wisconsin Air National Guard base, but like it's like a full on military. It's full on military base pretty much. So they can kind of like store other planes when they need to be transferred. I guess they were moving A-10s along somewhere, and
Okay.
so I'm coming back from college, and I fly in and I land, and like we land and we taxi past it. I look out my window and I'm like, since when do they have warthogs here at in Milwaukee? And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, you can take the wings off those bad boys and put the whole fuselage straight in and put like 2 of them in a C-17.
Yeah, they were just like lined up there, and I'm like, but they must have flown them because the wings were on and all that stuff like that. They just had like they had like 8 of them just lined up there, and I'm just like, why? Okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I guess they're gonna start doing Chafee runs across Milwaukee or something. Like, like
One of the coolest things I got to do is cover a deployment coming home, and when
Oh,
you
man.
see 3 helicopters with like, a bunch of guys worth of gear, and like everything that they needed for their entire survival and wherever they were coming from, packed into a C5, and then you realize that the C5 holds them all on the second floor facing backwards without windows,
Mm-hmm.
and that these guys have flown hours on that, and then they get off, you jump on the bus with them, you see them hug their families and stuff, and that was probably the coolest. It was like sunset. I took one of my most favorite pictures there. You got a quarter moon rising, so you've got a helicopter coming out of a C5, and the crew's lit up by the light from the plane. And
That's
but
cool.
that was one of the coolest experiences. But seeing a giant cargo plane swallow up all this stuff is it's crazy to see it come out. And
Yeah, they
Yeah.
swallow so much stuff in those planes. It's so weird.
the C5 doesn't make sense to me because those engines are way too small. I'm just
The C5 doesn't make sense. Period.
those engines, like tiny little engines, big boy, and then like
It has a fat.
clears the runway, and you're like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah, and they can clear the runway quick.
And I expected, like, when they came out with the K model, like the brand new one, I expected that to have like those huge like 777 engines on it. Nope, just had brand new versions of the turbofans. I was like, come on, make me feel confident in this plane.
God, I'm excited for this air show. Y'all should reconsider.
Yeah, maybe.
Having helped out with the volunteer system for the 2 Coco ones, I did all the Melbourne ones. I did the photo tour of the Melbourne ones. I'm good there. I'm going to do Stewart because I've never done Stewart before, and I would rather see Matt Yaukin than the Thunderbirds, and that's just me being.
That guy seems insane.
Super
I
geek.
need to watch that guy now. 'Cause that
Go
seems
on
insane.
YouTube, watch this man. It's insane. It's the craziest thing.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna stop it there because we're getting close to the hour 45 mark. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone for watching. If you guys joined out, Duncan and Kegel, I saw you guys in the chat, and Daryl. That's cheating, doesn't count. Thank you so much. We're not. I think we decided we're not gonna have an episode next week. I am out next week with a whole week, and
Hopefully, you guys will be recovering from multiple launches.
yes.
Well, I'll just be recovering from watching them at home.
It's a tough life.
And the week after, we'll announce it next week. We have a really big guest coming up in 2 weeks from now. It's going to be really, really awesome. And so make sure you guys like, subscribe, and wait for that. It's going to be really cool. And go Pack Go.
Who that?
Go. Yeah. Who? Go Pack Go.
Yeah, stop. You
Go
messed
Pack
it
Go.
up.
Go
You
Pack
messed
Go.
it up.
Go Pack Go.
I'm not even gonna say it.
Go Pack Go.
Rogers
Alright.
is washed up.
See you next week, or see you in 2 weeks. Bye.